lot of thinking and...
Just quickly in terms of like process anyway though, I used to work in advertising and I remember that the creative people often didn't listen to anybody, or didn't seem to listen to anybody at all. I don't know if any planners in the room or account people in the room have ever had that experience. So I sometimes just wonder, just in terms of how do you overcome sometimes that gap between the planning department or even the account team and the design and the creative team, and encouraging them maybe on slightly more boring brands or products.
I mean, how I kind of look at, talk to my creative people, and even I used to also not like planners and account people when I was young. And I used to think that ideas just kind of drop from heaven, or under the shower. I'll be under the shower, or having a cup of coffee and I'll get the idea, And there were times that you got the idea, but you were getting that idea because either from your own experiences or your own deep knowledge of that product. What you were doing actually was to cull insights as a creative person, right? Now that realization I need to constantly give to my creative people, and there are creative people who would not listen to, let's say, or who would think that there's too much of information. And I think the good thing is that, not the good thing, but why it happens also in ad agencies is because I think planning departments also has the responsibility of making the complicated simple rather than making the simple complicated. Right? And I'm fortunate that in Ogilvy also and now in Bates, there's this heavy, emphasis on planning and this whole change philosophy. So people like Freddie sitting here, that's the kind of support one gets. Or for example, Dheeraj sitting in India, all the people that Freddie looks after, they're great planners, and they not only they understand creativity or not only creativity excites them, but the fact is that they know that when you're approaching a creative team, you have to do all the homework and come from that, bring out something really exciting and interesting and insightful, maybe which can be said in one line,
Sure.
So I think that's
okay. Why don't we cut to the chase? Everybody wants to write down some notes. What are the trends?
I was helping you.
5 trends.
What are the kids doing these days, right? That's what everybody wants to know. What are the kids up to? Yeah. Seriously, right?
Let's talk about something that's inspiring you. Tell me something you've seen within your research which you think is just exciting.
Quite a lot, but one that I found really interesting about being the regional person and managing this scout panel across different cities in Asia was the fact that you actually track trends and how they were emerging in different parts of Asia. I can give you one really tangible example. I'm not sure if you know of the trend of those, how they start wearing the Casio digital watches, like very 80s, like sort of we had when we were really,
with the
really young.
calculator on them.
Yeah, with the calculator on. Cool. It's very digital. Yeah, my Jakarta scout blogged about that. I think towards the end of last year, and when he blogged about it, I was like, "Gosh, what are you giving me? This is complete nonsense." And I was like, "Okay, fine." I just let him be, because I was thinking that's something I probably wouldn't include in one of my reports. This year, I went to a youth marketing conference in Singapore, and all the advertising creatives and planners were wearing these digital clad Casio watches. I'm like, how did that happen? And then I go to Bangkok, I go to an underground secondhand market, and they're all selling it at, quite pricey for something that's not even waterproof.
Well, let's touch upon this sort of. It's interesting the trends that are going around the marketplace. When Nick was talking at the end of that talk, Joseph talked about similar themes that were happening in Jakarta, and Brian next to me was like nodding his head all the way through and going, "Oh, this is happening in Singapore too." Maybe you guys can talk about how different countries are, inspiring each other, or how trends are flowing around Asia, maybe.
Casio watches have been cool in Japan for years. I mean, it's already it's already out again, you know. It's almost retro again. Like,
Ouch!
In general, it's part of this overarching retro thing. I mean, retro is cool, I think, in Japan in general. But all I know is Japan, right? So, and really, that's all I know. Do you want to know exactly what I'm getting from the mark?
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I mean... in general, I think one of the most surprising things for people that come to Japan, anyway, is that the pervasiveness of mobile phones and how people are glued to them. I mean, they say that Japanese people are never more than 30 centimeters away from their phone. And, you know, we say this in reports and we tell people, and everybody knows Japanese people love their mobile phones. But until you go to Tokyo and you sit on a train and everyone is sitting there staring at their phone, you don't really get it, right? So a lot of what's happening now is for young people in particular, is that they're really communicating beyond just a simple phone call. And well, we don't do SMS, but it's email, right? This is their only exposure to the web. I mean, the web started in Japan on the phone. So the kind of creativity is coming out of this now. And for example, I mean, mobile novels have gotten really big. Our publishing clients are very interested in how to move beyond, you know, printed stuff, right? I mean, this is boring sometimes. Sorry if there's any publishing people. But
it's got your photo in it.
Yeah, that's why it's boring.
That's why it's boring.
That's why it's boring. It's an old photo. But with writing mobile novels, for example, teenagers are actually into this, and it's not just a quick little trend like, oh, there's mobile novels in Japan. I mean,
do you see these sort of trends inspiring people in other countries in Asia? So the mobile novel, other kind of mobile technology.
Well, but the thing about Japan is that, I mean, the mobile technology is so far advanced, and the speed that you can get things and the hardware is that I think you can't do it as well. You know, I don't know so much about the rest of Asia, but I think that you can't really do it as well. I mean, it's evolved with the technology, and you can have a really interactive manga created by someone a user, you know, who wrote the thing, like at home maybe, and then had it digitized, which you can do. People are actually drawing comics, having them digitized and put into cell phones so people can download them. And I mean, for example, Mahono Island, which means Magic Island, it's a mobile novel site, and it has, I think, 5.5 million registered users, and they get, I think, 30 billion page views a month. And people are watching this only on their mobile phones.
Yeah.
And what they've done, the connection between traditional publishing is that just by the end of 2007, they'd actually printed 40 of these novels. So people are writing a whole novel on that little screen, which I can't imagine ever doing, but they're actually doing it, young people. Most users are in their teens and 20s, and they write it, it becomes successful, lots of people download it, and then they print it and sell it. And they sell millions of copies of these.
Sorry, go ahead.
Now, just to add to the online novel, you know, the popularity of the online novel, it's really interesting for me to hear that, because there's also this culture among young people in China to read novels online. They don't do it on a mobile phone because obviously the Chinese phones don't have the capacity of the Japanese are enjoying. But there's this huge cult for reading online novels, and authors are becoming really famous by just putting out chapters and stories online. I find that also happening in Bangkok. There's these subcultures of young girls who are really into online novels. They even have their own events where they dress up as particular characters that they're rooting for, and have these parties. So I'm not sure if it's inspired by the Japanese trends. Actually, personally, I doubt that it's inspired by Japan. I think it's just about young people getting connected on the internet, and that affecting everyone in Asia in the same way, but also in different manners depending on the local context and the local infrastructure.